Ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem of the newly formed Ududuwa Nation.
A nation or republic cannot keep faith with justice and with the truth, it will never achieve unity. It will never achieve peace, and it will never achieve progress. Mr. President, sir, one of us quoted from this constitution and went ahead to make prescription for how to move forward. I dare to tell this nation today that this is the problem. This constitution can never give us progress. This constitution can never give us peace. This constitution can never give us unity. And unfortunately, most of us in this National Assembly, we don't have the spine to face what we need to give this republic to have peace and progress. What do I mean? This constitution has 68 items, 68 on the exclusive list. This constitution has only 12 on the concurrent list, and those 12 are written so nebulously, so fraudulently, that you know that the intention is to even undermine those concurrent lists. That is why those who want unity and peace in Nigeria must first remember that the name of our republic is not just Nigeria. The formal name of this republic is Federal Republic of Nigeria. Unfortunately, we don't run a federalist system in Nigeria. Otherwise, what is so unique about all those things that are in the exclusive list?
That takes us to our segment for the second segment for tonight. Recall that we had started discussion into the elusive consensus on the 1999 Constitution with Barrister Tony Nadi, and we promised to have him talk more on the questions surrounding the Constitution and the December 16th, 2020 proclamation. Let's now join him as promised. Let's quickly join him via Zoom. He's joining us from Lagos. Thank you very much, Barrister Nadi, for coming on the show again.
Thank you.
Yes, the last time we spoke on the 5 proclamation, the 5 agenda that they drew up, and the ultimatum given to Nigeria government to ensure that something is done about the 1999 constitution. Can you just throw more light into that?
Yes, the December 16 proclamation of the Nigeria Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination made 5 demands. The first is that there must be, by the federal government representing the Federation of Nigeria, because it's a sovereignty dispute. Is constitutional grievances that now have assumed the dimension of a sovereignty dispute that we have raised. And therefore, the federal government representing the Federation of Nigeria, against which that sovereignty dispute has been declared by the nationalities that constitute the Nigeria. The 5 demands: first is that the federal government must, in the period of the 90 days of notice, acknowledge this sovereignty dispute as declared, so that they don't continue to pretend that nothing has been said or done. Second, an express commitment to not to the decommissioning, an express commitment like South Africa did with apartheid constitution, an express commitment to the decommissioning of the 1999 constitution as the basis of the Nigerian Federation, because the document has been repudiated across board, from the Sharia belt that seceded from the secular union to all the other components that began to repudiate document in solemn assemblies in some formal ways. The third demand is that a formal announcement: no further national elections will be premised on that constitution. That is, the 2023 election, which, if it goes on as they have advertised, the winner will swear to and govern by that 1999 constitution. Therefore, we say there must be a formal announcement that no further national elections will be anchored on that constitution. The fourth demand is that the nationalities that make up Nigeria had to be, had to be invited, especially the South and the Middle Belt that are raising the complaints, because the other side had gone doing Sharia. That's why they're not included. We had something that brought everybody together when we did Pronaco. Everybody was present, but they went on with their Sharia on a scale that now made it impossible to continue to think in terms of Nigeria that all of us are trying to resolve. We're no longer talking about how to fix Nigeria. The constituent components of Nigeria are now concerned about how to salvage themselves from the clear and present danger of extermination that is coming upon them by the invasion that everybody has seen from all sides. And so those are the demands. Of course, the modalities, that's the matter of the transitioning, an express commitment to a time-bound transitioning that will give everybody the period to go work out the kind of things that will replace what we are rejecting.
Okay,
and we said there that it has to be in 2 stages. It's not just any other meeting. We're not talking about sovereign conference now, all those kind of conferences they've been doing. This is now a meeting, an originating meeting between those who are supposed to be federating in Nigeria. They have to go and work out the formations in which they want to federate and recommit by referendum to being in a union, because the constitution they are rejecting, the collapse of this current constitution is the end of union. If anybody is still pretending that constitution is basis of union, and then that we have to hold it sacrosanct and be to patch it, that person is running the risk of waking up one early morning to find himself on the rubble of that foolishness.
Barrister Nnadi, if you say
yes,
it will also mean the collapse of the collapse of the constitution will be at the end of the union, that's like saying because without a constitution, there's no country. The constitution is the grand norm.
Now, let us get something clear. We are supposed to be a federation.
Yes.
If you listen to the senator on the floor, we're supposed to be a federation. Nigeria ceased to be a federation since 1966. But has the country gone into thin air? No. Some people from one section of the country, seize the carcass of the union, of the federation, and then continue to pretend that it is the unitary union. Let us get this clear. It is the unitary union imposed on the rest of Nigeria by that segment, that small section of Nigeria that has also now imposed Sharia in their own small space, that we are rejecting. And so the constitution by which they have imposed that unitary union is what is going down now. And once it goes down, that unitary federation, that unitary union, because it's no federation at all, that unitary political union will be at an end. Because we are not anarchists, we also say, let us take time, go into a transition, let those in government house remain like happened in South Africa at the time they were trying to work their way out of the apartheid quagmire. What we have is exactly the same situation in which a section of the country, aided by their own folks from across the borders, from all over Africa, are now on the mission to exterminate others, to take over their spaces. And we say, let us not let it go that way until people begin to shoot at one another. Let us accept we have a problem in the constitution that we're pretending we made. We did not make our complaint is that we did not make the constitution. They say they put our signature on a document we didn't make. The preamble to that constitution says, we the people having firmly and solemnly resolved to live in unity as one indivisible and indissoluble country, Nigeria. That's a lie. Everybody knows a lie. And the decree number 24 by which Absalom Abubakar imposed the constitution in 1999, is printed along with the document. So we're not even looking for proof of that. It's printed inside the document that it's a lie that we made that constitution. Then that we submitted ourselves to the union. Then the other lie is that we therefore made this constitution. There are two claims. There are two false claims there. That's the bottom line. All the other complaints are subsidiary. All the other complaints are things happening because we did not get into that meeting. What are the other complaints? Because people need to know how these things connect with them. It is that constitution that is responsible for the 36 state structure we have now. Everybody's talking about federation and regional autonomy and all kinds of restructuring kind of talk. It is that constitution that fractured us as at this moment into. It is by that decree that we are now 36 states. It is by that decree we have 704 local government areas. It is by that decree of 1999 that we have 68 items on the exclusive list that make it impossible for people to do anything for themselves, including just generation of electricity, including providing their own security, including running their own elections, including refining petroleum products, which they have the capacity to, including 68 items like that, and everything. Their assets are seized. Like the oil and gas of Niger Delta, the ports of Lagos, the bitumen of Do, the limestone of Benue, everything that we're complaining about, the quota system that puts mediocrity in charge of our lives in all spheres. Everything we complain about, the corruption we complain about, all of them are flowing directly from that constitution, from that imposition of 1999. And it is on account of the fact that it was done over our heads, and our signature was now put on it as a validation. That's what it is. That signature that we are pulling back now. That's what I mean by the demise of that constitution. It is that false claim that we have submitted into this union. Those who do not have the discipline to listen now to understand what the complaint of this majority is. are going to learn the hard way. And I'm not talking to people from afar. I'm talking to people from the south and middle belt of Nigeria who sit in the council of the wicked with those who impose that constitution, who are killing off the other people.
Barrister Nadi,
they are the ones that our quarrel will be targeted first at them.
Let me take you to the fourth demand that you made there. You said invite the nationalities that make up Nigeria. And if you look at all your statements you have been making, you seem to concentrate on the south and the middle belt. And when you are calling on the nationalities that make up Nigeria, are you taking away the northern part of Nigeria?
No, we are not. Nobody's taking away the northern. Nobody's taking away any northern part of Nigeria. When we convened Pronaco, we were looking at the whole country. We called everybody, and everybody came. Muhammad Buhari, who is president now, was part of the Fulani delegation that came. We asked everybody to just come. Yoruba came as Yoruba. Ijo came as Ijo. Ogoni came as Ogoni. We had 164 ethnic delegations that sat for 2 years discussing the full length and breadth of this problem that we've been evading since 1967. The last time such a meeting took place was in Aburi in 1967. They reached an agreement, they came back, and a little section of the country abandoned that agreement, mobilized others, and began to kill people. And then from that point on, it's been one imposition after the other. Now, after the Pronaco, we were able to reach a draft. We sat in Lagos at plenary. We sat in Port Harcourt, we sat in Enugu, we sat in Jos, we sat in Kano. We came back to Lagos to conclude. The US sent observer mission. European Union sent observer mission. And we came out with a draft that would have taken us back to being a federation. At that same time, instead of building on new consensus, the only people that stayed away was government. And we said, okay, we must now get to where, the rest of us, our sovereignty remains with us. Our sovereignty never got away from us. The only thing that happened was that it was being suppressed by first the colonial authorities and then this illicit federal government that emerged from the point of the collapse of the Federation of Nigeria. It then became a unitary state, but still answering Federation of Nigeria. And you still have a federal government in a situation where there's no federation. And so the complaint now is that federal government that has been hijacked by that section of the country that has also gone ahead to impose Sharia that makes it impossible for us to talk about democracy and constitutionalism.
All right.
And so the reason we're willing to accept some kind of transition is to let everybody know that we are only calling for, this is the last call for a negotiated settlement to the Union of Nigeria.
All right, Barrister Nadi, the demands that you gave, your group gave 90 days, and today happens to be 15th of January. And by tomorrow, it will be 60 days. And at the end of the 60 days, if it happens that just like you said, you went for Pronaco, all the achievements you made, they were not even implemented. How sure that this same committee and commissioning that you are calling for will be implemented after you have sat to say, okay, these are the things we want. You want to sit with the government to say these 5 points, we want you to consider it and think of how to pull down this constitution and give a constitution that the people will be part of.
Now the matter is simple. All of the miseries confronting Nigerians, whether they are being killed in the middle belt by bandits and herdsmen, or their assets have been seized in the Niger Delta, or corruption has brought them to where their life is upside down, or refineries that are not working, that have made fuel impossible, electricity impossible, destroying businesses. We are saying that all the miseries flow from that constitution. Every one of them, we can point you to where their source is on that constitution. That's one item. Second item is that the life of that constitution is renewed once every 4 years by elections. The third item to bear in mind is that only political parties contest election. The Supreme Court case of Amechi confirmed that to us. The fourth item to bear in mind is that all the political parties in Nigeria subscribe to that constitution, such that any winner of any election, whether tomorrow or in 2023, will have to swear to and govern by that constitution. To that extent, what we have to do is to find a way to stop the renewal of the life of that constitution. This 90 days notice we have given is to tell all stakeholders, federal government, the Senate, all of the stakeholders across board, international stakeholders, that the people who are suffering from the toxic effects of that constitution, for whom it has become a question of life and death, an urgent question of life and death, because it's that constitution that disarmed them in a situation where they are being surrounded for extermination. Therefore, our focus at this time will be on the political parties that contest election, because whether it's party A or party B that wins, it is that constitution, that the provisions of that constitution that will govern. And so we said to them, you cannot continue to go in our name, to go to get benefits for yourself, because you see what the governors take every month, you see what the senators take every month, and the House Assembly members. They are going in our name, but not on our behalf. And so we say it is within our reach to tell them that they can't continue to pretend we have a democracy or that we have a union that is defined by all of us. And our limited target at this time will be to prevent them from dragging us to another election. And that's why those 5 points of demand relates to what the federal government can do to bring itself into, the table of helping managing that situation, like South Africa did with apartheid in the years they did Kodesa. And so if they ignore it and just stay as if nothing is going on, we already wrote into that declaration that we will be reconsidering our allegiance to that constitution. That is what we say we'll do. Anybody can interpret it for however they choose, but let it be made clear that when that 90 days is passed, those who are choking under this constitution will have to make up their minds what to do with those from their own areas who are helping sustain that constitution, because they go to get the benefits that accrue to them. They are not listening to those who are dying under that constitution, and they'll be treated like the worst of enemies. Our focus will not be on those who are coming from afar to overrun us. Our focus will be on those from our own spaces, the South and the Middle Belt, that have found themselves in this existential threat. We will be focusing on the political actors, the political parties operating in Southern and Middle Belt of Nigeria, those who go to pretend they are representing us under a constitution they know is killing us. We are shouting to the hearing of everybody now. The people who are choking are going to take it out against them. And however anybody wants to manage it, let them begin to prepare now to manage it. We will not accept one more election under this constitution. And
how do you hope to achieve all that you have mentioned? Without sending a message of without scaring people and without sending a wrong message. How do you hope to achieve it without sending a wrong message? Because the last statement you just made now is that you're talking to those who represent you in the National Assembly, those who are in government, and the political parties, that if they don't yield to your demands,
if you go to those 5 points,
yes.
If you go to those 5 points, we stated it clearly that our quarrel is not with those in government house. We are not anarchists. So we say, let the governance structures remain in the period of this discussion. They have 4 years from the last election. They spent only 1 year and a half. There are still 2 years and a half to the next round of elections. And we are confident that we do not require more than 6 months or 1 year to sort out this problem. They are defying all of us now in the treason they are committing by holding on to a constitution we did not make as the source of authority, as the source of power, as reason why we become the owners of all our lives. And so we are saying that let nobody mix it up. The people in government house, the executive branch, the legislative branch, we say we have no quarrel with them. They can remain on a transitional basis in the period of that discussion.
Okay.
But if they think they become omnipotent, if they think they become so strong that nobody can question them or stop them in what they are doing, that is where they will be angling for a fight with those who are choking under this constitution.
All right.
We've gone to elections since 1999.
But our time is up, and we do not have all the time to let you continue. We've been on this discussion for the second time on the program. It's an interesting discussion that we'll still be looking at. The hope is that your aim to achieve these 5 demands will also keep the peace in the country, because we won't be allowing the breach of the peace in Nigeria.
We are the only peacemakers.
We are hoping that it will keep the peace in the country.
There are people who took up arms against the country. We were the ones who persuaded them to keep their arms so that we can go to discussion.
Okay.
The Asari Dokobos of this world, the Ghanaian Adams of this world, we were the ones who called them to keep their guns.
Conversation with that on that program is they were talking about as if these people are going to be causing some problem in the country. They're fighting for their right. You cannot keep killing me and you think I will just keep quiet there. It might take me a long time to react, but when I react, it means I have reacted. Welcome to the program. That was Barrister Tony Nandi there, speaking with on the program with AIT earlier on today. With permission from AIT, we were able to use that clip to show you what is going on, what is happening, and what is going on around the whole world. I didn't arrange to come in on this one, but unfortunately I have to come in quickly when the program was running away from me too soon than expected. So that is why you were able to see my face. I wasn't prepared to come in on that program at all. It was just a matter of Tony and that presenter having their tete-a-tete talk, not me coming in at all. I'm just gonna round it up with some few things that we have in line coming up soon. And what are those things? Tomorrow, Dr. Posela Chibosun will be taking on Pa Ayo Adebanjo tomorrow, sometimes tomorrow. And then on Sunday, I'm just going to go and grab the time quickly. On Sunday, I believe it's going to be Sunday evening. I have a very important program that have just been passed over to me. I'm just trying to finalize the details of it. It's going to be 7 p.m. on Sunday, the 17th of January 2021. Obafemi Awolowo Foundation Zoom webinar. That will be available on Heritage Television. Thank God for Sister Tokumbo Dosumu Awolowo, who has actually given us the permission to stream this one. And I'm sure we're going to stream it together. We're going to be there together. We're going to work on it together. And we're going to do it together. I cannot do anything on my own. We have to do things together. And I thank you for always being beside me, working out things in a way that will be better for all of us. You look at my lighting today. It's not very glorious. Like I said to you, I didn't plan to come in on this one. So the webinar is going to be 7 p.m. West Central African time, which is going to be like 6 o'clock UK time on Sunday, 17th of January 2021. Actually, they will be talking about the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on children education. If you recall, Baba Awolowo, what it stands for is education, and nothing more, because he said it's the foundation to make things develop very, very well. Very, very well. I think tomorrow evening, if I'm right, Irilu Abikade will be on Call a Spade at about 5 o'clock evening time on the 16th of January. Tony Nandi was saying today is the 30th day of that force majeure notification. And I'm sure you must have watched the force majeure thing. And if you recall it very well, it was something that we actually broadcast live here on Heritage Television. And if my producer can give me the indulgence, I might have to be forced to go and bring in that program, the whole program of that force majeure, so that if you don't know, you can't know. As I say it every time, if you claim you don't know something, but it's always very easy to know it, because the people that will make you know it will always make sure you know it. No matter where you want to hide, no matter how you want to hide, there's no hiding place. What you don't know, you're going to know. There are so many things that have happened in the past that some people claim they don't know. The force majeure, the breakdown of everything caused force majeure. The notice was given on the 16th of December 2020, and we managed to round it up and wrap it up, and so far so good. It's 30th day already. So if you don't know about it, I'll probably say to you, you need to go and find out everything you need to know about that thing called force majeure, because when you know about it, it will make your life very, very easy. There are some few people who were on that program, and if you didn't watch that program, Tony came back in December 25th, which is on Christmas Day. We managed to drag him out on that day, and he actually break it down. But that is not the one we want to actually have a look at. The one we actually want to have a look at is actually the force majeure, the full details itself, so that we can see everything that happened in that force majeure. Thank God, my producer has actually been able to drag that one out for me. So you will have the opportunity to see it. Yes, you've been hearing force majeure here, force majeure there, but what is this force majeure thing all about? What is happening to this force majeure? Many of us does not even know. Many of us have not had the opportunity to know what it is. So tonight is a golden opportunity for you to know exactly what they were saying there, who have signed up to it then, and maybe sometimes next week we'll be bringing on the people who have signed up to it since the declaration. So I hope you're going to enjoy this, because it's an in-depth knowledge of what actually happened during that force majeure thing. Thank God I'm using the same studio, so you won't notice a lot of difference in what is happening. From Heritage Television, force majeure is coming your way. I won't say anything bad about it, because I didn't see anything bad about it. Everything about it was very, very good. And the way they presented it, the way they bring it out, the way they did everything there was very, very classic. If you find any loss in transmission there, just bear with me. Everything will be okay very, very soon. I'll come back to you later on this program.
Imposed union as the mistake of 1914. Chief Obafemi Awolowo had dismissed Nigeria as a mere geographical expression. Number two, recently declassified secret colonial records now affirm and confirm the heavy manipulations by the British to create a lopsided union in which what was packaged as independence in 1960 was, for the southern and middle belt of Nigeria, merely a transition from external British colonialism to internal colonialism, manifesting Nigeria progressively as a British/Caliphate joint business venture, holding the south and middle belt territories and peoples in servitude. On this note, it is instructive to recall the December 1913 description by the then Secretary for the Colonies, Lord Harcourt, of the pending January 1st, 2014 illicit annexation of southern Nigeria to northern Nigeria, as the British married off the southern lady of means to the poor but well-conducted Nigerian youth, northern youth, and to point out that it was the celebration of this grand bequest that Ahmadu Bello had declared to his lieutenants in the very week of Nigeria's independence in October 1960, that the new nation called Nigeria should be an estate of our great-grandfather, that's his own great-grandfather, Uthman Fodio. We must ruthlessly prevent a change of power. We will use the minorities of the Middle Belt as willing tools, God forbid, and the South, the conquered territory, God forbid, say it together, God forbid, and never to allow them to rule over us, and never allow them to have control over their future, God forbid. This is as quoted in Parrot newspaper of 12th October 1960. Number 3, we recall that as the departure of the British drew near in the early 1950s, the ethno-linguistic, cultural, and religious diversities of the people of the territory dictated the adoption of the federal constitution model, in which the then 3 largely autonomous regions, northern, eastern, and western regions, own and control their assets, contributing an agreed percentage of their income, 15% maximum, to finance the upkeep and operations of the center, the federal government, in the limited function jointly delegated to it by the federative region. And it is pertinent to note that the high degree of autonomy which defines this federal mode
As I said earlier on, there are so many technical glitches going on there today, but don't worry about it. It's going to be resolved. We are going to have this today. This is going to happen today. Nobody can stop this, and this is not going to stop for any reason. So, as I was saying earlier on, the history of amalgamation and it's actually a contract between the South and the North, which the British forced together. Like Georgia Keller, one of the convener of this program, was saying in the background. Let's go back to them. We're back with them.
The region fractured force into 12 states in 1967, and subsequently present at the 6 states, which grovel at the feet of an omnipotent federal government with a 68-item federal executive legislative list that rendered the states completely incapacitated. As far as we are concerned, what happened in 1966 truncated Nigeria. Nigeria, our fathers negotiated. In 1959, up to elections, 1960, died in 1966. It is self-evident, number 5, that this inverted federalism is directly responsible for the globally acknowledged failings of Nigeria in all spheres, manifesting in pervasive corruption, infrastructure, gross insecurity, mass poverty, and hopelessness, thrusting Nigeria upon the global podium as the case study of a failed state. It is also self-evident that the many regional additions in Nigeria, whether for resource control, exit from the failed Nigeria Union, or for regional autonomy, or for sovereign national conference, are basically regional responses to Nigeria's inverted and distorted federalism, and therefore raise sovereignty questions that elections cannot answer. That number 6, that from the point of the collapse of the Federative Constitution in 1966, Nigeria ceased to be a federation, and that the unitarist country imposed by a combination of brute force and crime since 1966 has become for the constituent component units and component ethnic nationalities of Nigeria, an occupation force operating as an advanced sovereignty in negation and suppression of the collective sovereignties of the said constituent component nationalities, which now feel entrapped in the union of attrition and death that Nigeria has become for their various peoples, especially in the southern and middle belt territories, which had been at the receiving end of the belligerence of a section of Nigeria, as shown on the map behind us, which owe it a duty of faith to kill others as stipulated in Sharia, and which does not believe that all men are born equal, as stipulated in their principle of feudalism. Number 7, the simultaneous imposition of Sharia by the 12 contiguous states of the federal section or the feudal section of northern Nigeria in the year 2000 rendered the already distressed union of Nigeria practically untenable, since Sharia and feudalism are mutually exclusive with democracy and constitutionalism, to which the rest of Nigeria subscribed. And so it became a situation of irreconcilable clash of civilizations, with little prospects of finding any viable, sustainable resolution, as no side can be compelled or persuaded to abandon their worldview. Number 8, that the present imposed master-servant constitutional order, which emanated from the series of decrees made between 1966, when Nigeria failed to exist, and 1999, which backed both the so-called 1979 Constitution and its 1999 reincarnation, called the 1999 Constitution, that currently define the union called Nigeria, cannot be the basis for any democracy. For the same reasons that no democracy could have been built on the apartheid constitution in South Africa. Number 9, that many years of painstaking people-led democratic processes, including pro-NATO and other multi-regional initiatives, to find a sustainable resolution to the damaged constitutional foundations of Nigeria had been ignored and denigrated by successive federal governments, including the present administration, as recent as November 2018, when in faraway Paris, France, President Muhammadu Buhari declared that those talking about restructuring were lazy, and without a clue on what they mean by restructuring and how it could be undertaken. A comprehensive response was given by us as to the meaning, content, and process of restructuring, as was raised by an alliance partner organization titled Open Memorandum to President Muhammadu Buhari on his Paris queries on restructuring. You can find this on Facebook. Just Google it on Facebook. And we adopt, the link is available too, we adopt and incorporate the full text of the said open memo on November 16, 2018, as the wider articulation of the issues around the demand for the reconfiguration of the constitutional foundations of Nigeria, preferably through referendum. It is also a matter of public knowledge. Number 10, it is also a matter of public knowledge that as a part of the aforementioned people-led processes, the component regional blocks of Nigeria, throughout the southern Nigeria and the middle belt, had in the course of the last 3 years taken their turns to publicly repudiate the 1999 Constitution as the basis of the Nigerian Union. And the next logical step is to initiate a time-bound process for the termination of the operation of that Constitution. That Constitution must die for Nigerians, all the ethnic nationalities, and all the peoples of southern Nigeria and the middle belt to live. It is our contention that the most urgent challenge before Nigeria today is to reconstitute itself back to being a federation as the only viable mechanism for addressing the self-determination and sovereignty issues raised by the thoroughly disputed constitutional arrangements of Nigeria, not by elections that can only exacerbate an already bad situation. The current dangerous crossfire between political gladiators and the trajectory of the political discourse in Nigeria is reminiscent of the 1962 to 1965 episodes which exploded into the collapse of the Union in 1966. Accordingly, we, the self-determination groups of Yoruba land, under Yoruba Liberation Command and its associates, under the Biafra Coalition, under the Niger Delta peoples, and under the peoples of the Middle Belt, that will reconstitute itself, Nigeria will reconstitute itself back to being a federation as the only viable mechanism for addressing the self-determination and sovereignty issues raised by the thoroughly disputed arrangements of Nigeria. Repeat, not by election. So, we, the people, the owners of the land, the people that inherited Nigeria as certainly constituted from our ancestors, demand that in place of the general elections planned for 2019, a transitional arrangement be immediately instituted to peacefully ease out the rejected unitary constitutional order, while a body with constant powers is also instituted to midwife the emergence of successive constitutional arrangements according to the preferences of the constituent component nationalities of Nigeria to be ascertained by referendum. Referendums in the various constituent units that make up present in Nigeria to determine whether or not they want to remain in Nigeria or they want to exit. May we inform the political actors from the south and the middle belt of Nigeria that the choice must be made now between standing with the people of southern Nigeria and the middle belt that they claim to lead, who have rejected the 1999 constitution and any elections mandated by it, and stand with the enemies of their people who insist on preserving that master servant constitution of 1999, which enslaved and impoverished the peoples. We have spoken. Signatories of this are the Olicon Group, the Lower Niger Congress Group, and the United Middle Belt Independent Peoples, Indigenous Peoples Congress. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you all very much. What you just heard was in December 11th of 2018. Then after this proclamation, the Freedom Park Proclamation of December 11, 2018, the president went to France and basically said, well, he heard what we said, that the government didn't know how to do that. So we wrote an open memo to the president and to the government, telling them exactly what is going to happen. And that was in November 16th of 2018. And what you're going to hear now is exactly what we told the president, and it was published in the Guardian newspaper. So in a moment, you will hear what we told the government of the day. And between that time and to do that. So that's why we're here today, to enforce that. So I'm going to invite Otumba Fola Shade to read that memo that the Alliance sent to the government of the day, okay, concerning the restructuring and the reforming of the foundation of the country. Thank you. So, Otumba Fola Shade, over to you.
An open memorandum to President Muhammadu Buhari on behalf of the Lower Niger Congress and its MNN alliance partners in response to the restructuring queries raised in Paris, November 12, 2018. At an interactive session held with Nigerians resident in France, November 12, 2018, on the sidelines of the World Peace Forum in Paris, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari was reported by the media as saying the following: "There are too many people talking lazily about restructuring in Nigeria. Unfortunately, people are not asking them individually what do they mean by restructuring. What form do they want restructuring to take? Do they want us to have something like the 3 regions we used to have? And now we have 36 states and the FCT. What form do they want? They are just talking loosely about restructuring. Let them define it, and then we see how we can peacefully do it in the interest of Nigerians. They are just saying they want Nigeria restructured, and they don't have the clue of what the form of restructuring should be. So anybody who asks you about restructuring in Nigeria, asking what it means and what form you want it to take. Putting aside the unfortunate condescending haughtiness of describing the protagonists of restructuring as lazy and clueless, and for the purpose of clarity, the elaborate queries embedded in these comments credited to Mr. President could be summarized into 2 broad questions. What exactly constitutes a restructured Nigeria? How precisely should the restructuring exercise be undertaken? Let us know that question 1 relates mainly to the contents of restructuring in terms of what should emerge as the structure of Nigeria after the restructuring exercise could be successfully prosecuted. Before engaging these 2 broad questions, a few preliminary remarks will be necessary to establish the baselines for this intervention with a view to dissecting and bringing clarity and perspective to the entire restructuring discourse in a matter that is capable of advancing the difficult dialogue of the threshold of actionable common ground. Let it be recalled that after many years of government prevarication on the subject of appropriate constitutional arrangements for Nigeria, a critical mass of thought leaders who had a thorough grasp of what the real issue of the sick Nigerian state are and what potent remediation options are available to cure for its cure, came together from across the ethnic and geopolitical divides in Nigeria, including some of your contemporaries in the Nigerian military, and took upon themselves the daunting task of mobilizing the peoples of Nigeria towards a consensus that would generate more workable and more acceptable constitutional arrangements for Nigeria in place of the unworkable unitary constitutional order that was unilaterally fostered by military fiat between 1966 and 1999 on a Nigeria that was designed to be a federation. The said mobilization efforts led to the convocation of the People's Sovereign Conference of the Ethnic Nationalities of Nigeria by the Enahoro-led Pro-National Conference Organizations, PRONACO, 2005 to 2006, which successfully brought together delegations from the various ethnic nationalities across Nigeria, civil society, and the leadership of the various regional self-determination agitations of that period, some armed, including the Odua People's Congress, OPC, as led by Gani Adams, The movement for the actualization of the sovereign state of Biafra, MASOB, as led by Ralph Iwasu, the Niger Delta People's Volunteers Force, NDPVF, as led by Dokubo Asare, amongst others. The conference, after almost 2 years of exhaustive deliberations in an unfettered atmosphere, successfully produced the draft People's Constitution in August 2006, anchored on the regional drafts of the various regional delegations within the self-determination rights of the nationalities, being the constituent components of the distressed Nigerian Federation. The processes that produced the said draft People's Constitution had and still have the potential to peacefully guide Nigeria's return to its federal basis, and the federal government of that time engaged with the processes. Former President Obasanjo had actually declared that we were committing treason for convening a sovereign conference of the peoples of Nigeria. Having been a part of the wider spectrum of leading political actors from northern Nigeria involved by way of consultation in the PRONACO process, Mr. President, Mr. President will recall that I had a meeting at Ikeja between yourself, myself, and Chief Enahoro, handed to you the hardcover edition of the aforementioned draft People's Constitution in February 2007, when you came to intimate the arrowheads of PRONACO of your bid for the presidency of Nigeria in the 2007 electoral round. If there be any need for reminders on the events, 2005 to 2006 as outlined herein, Mr. President, I have no doubt that your current APC compatriots, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, then Governor of Lagos State, Babatunde Fashola, then Chief of Staff to Governor Tinubu, and Emi Osinbajo, then Attorney General of Lagos State, will readily be available to refresh your memory. That post-PRONACO, the arrowheads of PRONACO, including Chief Anthony Enahoro and Professor Wole Soyinka and Jim Chukwuemeka Ejumego Ojukwu, amongst other plaintiffs, had, under the aegis of the implementation phase, called the Movement for New Nigeria, MNN, and in furtherance of PRONACO consensus, instituted suits between 2007 and 2009 at both the Lagos and Abuja divisions of the High Court, challenging the legitimacy of the 1999 Constitution on the grounds of fraud and forgery, seeking the termination of its operation and the immediate initiation of a transitioning that would distill the successor constitutional arrangements, just as South Africa had to do to ease itself out of the obnoxious apartheid constitutional order between 1990 and 1994, under the leadership of courageous President Frederick W. de Klerk. Other implementation steps followed when by the MNN Lagos Declaration of June 30, 2011, the MNN Alliance partner organizations jointly repudiated the 1999 Constitution as the basis of Nigeria and mandated the said regional partner organizations to help galvanize the various peoples of Nigeria into regional constitution-making processes ahead of the inevitable constitutional reconfiguration of Nigeria structurally. Those regional processes have since advanced the constitution-making task and have, between 2015 and 2018, yielded formal regional proclamations across the southern and middle belt territories of Nigeria, repudiating on behalf of the peoples of each regional bloc the 1999 Constitution as a basis of the Federation of Nigeria, and respectively declaring their desires to explore other available options for the future of their various peoples within the context of their universal right to self-determination. Since Nigeria had for over 15 years, from Aburi of 1967, refused to address the self-determination questions arising from the grave constitutional agreement of its constituent components. This review of recent and ongoing actions and exchanges amongst the peoples of Nigeria on the subject of restructuring is to assure Mr. President that there is a body of knowledge and know-how which the distressed Federation of Nigeria can immediately leverage to salvage itself from the free fall and debilitation it now finds itself in as a viable political union. And that contrary to Mr. President's charge that the proponents of restructuring are lazy and clueless, it is the federal government of Nigeria that has been mystifying and obfuscating the straightforward subject of returning Nigeria to its federal basis, and presenting itself as frightened and confused every time the word restructuring is mentioned. With many failed attempts by federal governments to short-circuit requisite processes by way of the Unitary Star National Conference in 1994, 2005, and 2014. Here is a further historical background for the answers we are providing to questions 1 and 2 as crafted. A federation is a union of constitutions, and Nigeria became one country at independence in 1960, when the 3 regions of the time, northern, eastern, and western regions, which already had their own constitutions laid out between 1957 and 59, met, negotiated, and agreed to federate themselves into one political union at the Lancaster House Conferences of 1959. The crux of this agreement and the federation model it produced was the high degree of autonomy it guaranteed for the federating regions, in which each region owned and controlled its assets, contributing an agreed percentage of its income, 15%, for the upkeep of the center, federal government, to finance the limited functions generally delegated to the center by the regions, meaning that the center was a creation of the regions to service specified collective needs. It will be recalled that when in 1953, Anthony Anaho moved the first motion for independence, the northern delegates opposed, blocked, and defeated the motion. On the ground that the northern region was not yet ready for independence. It will also be recalled that following the collapse of the said independence motion of 1953, the 8-point demand raised by the then Premier of the Northern Region, Sir Ahmadu Bello, as conditions for the Northern Region to join the other 2 regions as one country and to independence had to do with the degree of regional autonomy which the North wanted, and these took between 1953 place and eventually defined the autonomy level adopted in what became the Independence Constitution in 1960. The coup of January 15, 1966, and the counter coup of July 29, 1966, brought the military into the arena of political power, resulted in the toppling and jettisoning of the 5 constitutions that defined the Federation of Nigeria, 4 regional and 1 federal, and the imposition of unitary constitutional instruments by military decrees, one of which by May 27, 1967, broke up the erstwhile 4 regions into 12 states and swept away the autonomy of the regions, whilst hijacking and confiscating the assets and rights of the regions. Most governmental powers and responsibilities of the regions were forcefully taken over by the federal government in this period. From that point in May 1967, Nigeria ceased to be a federation. It became and has remained a unitary state today, fractured into 36 largely impotent states that govern at the feet of an omnipotent but grossly inefficient federal government, holding to itself 68 items on the federal exclusive list, legislative list, as encapsulated by the imposed 1999 Constitution, which is a wholesale carryover of the equally imposed 1979 Constitution, despite the bogey called the 1977 Constituent Assembly, since the 17 amendments introduced by Obasanjo's Supreme Military Council in September 1978 overrode the clean draft of the Constituent Assembly of 1977. And that is what has brought Nigeria to the sorry pass it currently is in, becoming the leading global example and case study of a failed state, and also emerging the poverty capital of the world, despite its huge endowments in human and material resources. Mr. President, sir, these failures of Nigeria, characterized by gross insecurity, pervasive corruption, and infrastructural decay, are the direct consequences of the aforementioned distortions of Nigeria's federal constitutional arrangements. since 1966, now fueling the trenchant demands for restructuring and outright exit from what has become a union of attrition for the vast majority of frustrated citizens and the peoples of the constituent components of Nigeria, who now feel entrapped in an unworkable imposed union and framed by a constitution, the authorship of which is falsely credited to them in the preambular text, which pretend we, the people, enacted our own damnation. It is therefore self-evident that the countrywide demands for restructuring are quite simply demands for the returning of Nigeria to its federal foundations, as there can be no viable mechanisms for sustainably keeping such a diversity of peoples, cultures, and civilizations as Nigeria presents in one cohesive country, otherwise than as a federation. All honest stakeholders ought by now to have reached this inescapable conclusion, especially by soberly looking back at the tragedies of unitary Nigeria since 1966. Let us also point out that the legislative mandate of the National Assembly does not include the constituent powers required to make the constitutional amendments. Powers are the exclusive powers of the federal constituent component, flowing from their sovereignty, currently suppressed by the sovereignty of Nigeria has been since 1966. Any lawyer who tells you otherwise is either ignorant or abused, whether it's advocates of federal law. Having outlined these backgrounds, we now proceed to make a specific account. What exactly is Nigeria? None of all this benefit Nigeria in terms of context of outcome is the structure of Nigeria that we promote. A, when the sub-nationalities be the constituent components of each federating bloc, beside the geographical formation in which we will receive, that is, integrating with the rest of the union. Often first again, internal this guarantee internal cohesion in the world, within the context of the universal rights of each sub-nationality of determination. When the federating blocs decide what governmental responsibilities that they receive to the federal government, what they keep exclusive to themselves, and what they may concurrently undertake with the federal government, with all three residual powers, that is, anything not listed under any of their four main three categories, reserved for federating units. Referendums are plebiscites are deployed as ratification mechanisms as appropriate at each stage, in keeping with and in a manner consistent with the imperatives of self-determination for each sub-nationality. The number of federating units will also have to be a function of the consultations agreement of the sub-nationalities in stage 1 of the two-stage process outlined in question 2 below, and not by the kind of whimsical dictates that brought Nigeria to its current 36-state quagmire. How precisely should the restructuring be undertaken? Guided by the fact that a federation is a union of constitutions, and looking back at what truncated the basis of Nigerian federation, the logic of the situation dictates a two-stage process undertaken in a certain sequence. Stage 1 would be to distill the regional constitutions of the proposed federating units as outlined under question 1, that would federate in the second
Okay.
So to read this side.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
As was done, sir. In the second, as was done by the three regions between 1957 and 1959, ahead of the Lancaster House conferences of 1959. Stage 2 would be for the proposed federating units already armed with their respective regional constitutions as distilled from stage 1 to meet, negotiate, and agree on the terms of federating themselves into one political union, as was done in the Lancaster House conferences. Referendums and ratifications are to be deployed as ratification mechanism as appropriate at each stage, in keeping with and in a manner consistent with the imperatives of self-determination for each of the sub-nationalities. May we point out, Mr. President, that it was the failure of all the governments of Nigeria since 1970 to abide by this simple logic of a federation that is responsible for the failure of all attempts to rework the constitutional arrangements of Nigeria, starting with the Constituent Assembly of 1977 to all the national conferences of 1999, 2005, and 2014. So anything short of this two-stage process is bound to fail yet again, no matter how well intentioned the conveners may be. Now that we know in broad outlines what restructuring means, Mr. President, Mr. President may be asking, but how do we begin? From where we are now, especially with the 2000 elections so near. The best guide on how to proceed from where Nigeria is right now is to look at how South Africa eased itself out of the quagmire of the apartheid constitutional order between 1990 and 1994, under the courageous leadership of President de Klerk, when the apartheid era South Africa arrived at the very situation Nigeria has now arrived at under the imposed Master Servant 1999 constitution that has been repudiated and rejected countrywide, but to which a tiny band of political merchants across Nigeria hold tenaciously for huge, humongous personal and group benefits. Even the people, the country, and the society sink deeper into misery, decay, and detention. The government of South Africa saved and began the healing of their dying country by telling itself the truth in 1990, namely that the apartheid constitutional order could not carry the South African society further, and therefore it announced a definitive plan to terminate the operations of the apartheid constitution and immediately set in motion the transitioning process called CODESA, which midwife the process birthed the wholesale replacement of the repudiated apartheid constitution, which birthed the wholesale replacement of the repudiated apartheid constitution. Nigeria is in that station at this time that requires this turnkey constitutional re-engineering, reconfiguration, and reconstruction, which has acquired the street name of restructuring. Mr. President, Nigeria is very sick, and we present this memorandum to you as concerned statesmen who have taken the trouble to fully diagnose the actual ailment of the sick Nigeria and to locate the most important prescription for that ailment, and now invite your government and other stakeholders to commence the emergency treatment to the life-threatening ailment of Nigeria over and above the ineffective palliatives that partisan politics have offered the dying union for over 50 years now, including elections that only throw up new drivers to steer the vehicle with a knocked engine, which Unity Nigeria has been since the 1966 collapse of its federal foundations. Whether we admit or not, Nigeria is now a thoroughly disputed project site, and further construction is not only a monumental waste, but makes a peaceful resolution much more difficult and much more costly. We were encouraged to raise this memorandum to you by the part of your comment in Paris, in which you stated concerning the restructuring demand. Let them define it, and then we see how we can peacefully do it in the interest of Nigerians. This is a much better tone and language than the previous dismissive and unnecessarily combative disposition of Mr. President to the demand for restructuring. We have defined it. The board now in the court of Mr. President, as custodians of the body of knowledge and know-how required to undertake this inevitable reconfiguration and reconstruction of the damaged constitutional foundations of Nigeria, we will stand by to offer our guidance to the process. With every sense of responsibility, and has already been campaigned for by the LNC and its MNN alliance partners, it is our conviction that the situation calls for a public acknowledgement by you that the 1999 Constitution is the source of the misery of Nigeria and Nigerians, and this acknowledgement should be accompanied by a formal announcement defining the 2019 elections, as well as the immediate initiation of a timeline transitioning process with the balance of your tenure along the paradigms outlined in this memorandum in place of further national elections in 2019 under the repudiated 1999 Constitution, which can only worsen the situation of Nigeria, as was the case in 1964-65 elections that landed Nigeria in the catastrophes of 1966 to 1970. For more illumination on restructuring from self-determination perspective, You may wish to view the YouTube title, Nigeria, a Valley of Decision. May God grant you the wisdom and the courage required to steer the troubled ship of the Nigerian state in the present turbulent waters. For and on behalf of the Lower Niger Congress and its MNN Alliance.
That was it.
Okay, thank you very much, Otumba Lukoy. For today's very important proclamation, the force majeure. And also to say that these are just the lead signatory. There are over 20 million other signatories that we are hoping to process, to forward to the United Nations to do the needful. And we are also very excited that most of the signatories are right here on this call. So immediately after we finish scrolling the signatories, we will go ahead and make the proclamation. Okay, so there's no music background, incidentally, but we will also scroll this again when it's done. But this day, the December 16th of 2020, here are the lead signatories of the ethnic nationalities of Nigeria, who are being supported by over 20 million other signatories being processed. And after the force majeure proclamation, we are going to give people instructions, some guidelines as to where they can go to also add their signatory for this very important event. Okay, so here we go. So as you can see, these are very key individuals and the people, the core representatives of the people of the ethnic nations in Nigeria. These are people whom the ethnic nations themselves have, feel very comfortable to represent them, far more comfortable and far more reliable with them than the people who are currently in Abuja trying to represent them. Okay, so thank you very much. All right, so I want to observe that the network is compromised where Professor Akintoye, who is actually billed or who was billed to read the proclamation, where he is, the network is compromised, and we have done quite some bits to try to make it happen over the past couple of hours. And it looks like that is not happening at this time. But however, Professor Akintoye, the lead signatory for today's proclamation, is on the call. And then all the other signatories, the lead signatories, are also represented. So as a result, because what must happen, because the spirit is already here. So the joint leadership of the NINAS Alliance, the Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination, so took the decision that the Secretary General of the LNC, who is also the co-convener of the NINAS Alliance, will go ahead and read the proclamation. So, ladies and gentlemen, the moment we have been waiting for is here, and I would like to invite the Secretary General of the Lower Niger Congress and the co-convener of the NINAS Alliance, Barrister Tony Nnadi, Mr. Tony Nnadi, to read the proclamation on behalf of the NINAS Alliance.
Welcome our people. Our co-compatriots in the Union of Nigeria, the District Federation of Nigeria, gentlemen from the media, we welcome you. This is a notice of constitutional grievances, a declaration of constitutional force majeure, and a demand for a transitioning process for an orderly reconfiguration of the constitutional basis of the Federation of Nigeria, being a joint proclamation of a sovereignty dispute by accredited delegates of Nigerian indigenous nationalities of the southern and northern territories of Nigeria, issued this 16th day of December 2020. This proclamation is titled Correcting the Mistake of 1914. As the distressed Federation of Nigeria wobbles in what seems its terminal throes, as young Nigerians rise up massive revolt against system that ruin their present and compromise their future.
Please, could you all mute, or can the host please mute everybody? There is a lot of noise coming in and interference. Please, host, could you mute everybody? Could you mute everybody? And then we will have to take this. Orebe, please mute phone. There's a lot of noise coming from your phones. Host, please, could you mute everybody? We're going to take this again in the beginning because we have it. We have it recorded. We're still hearing the background noise. Johnny, please, could you mute everybody? So there's someone with Orebe. There's a user called Orebe. Please remove and mute the person.
Yeah, I'm muted. I'm muted.
We can still hear some noise. We want absolute quiet for this.
Everybody is muted except Tony Nadi. Okay, there's Orebe. Okay, just one person. I just.
Okay, and there's also a Demola Oyelola. Please, could you mute? Could you mute? We want absolute quiet because we're recording this. Okay, thank you very much. All right, so Mr. Tony Nadi is going to start all over again. Oh, yes, okay, please.
Notice of constitutional grievances, declaration of constitutional force majeure, and a demand for transitioning process for an orderly reconfiguration of the constitutional basis of the Federation of Nigeria, being the joint proclamation of a sovereignty dispute by accredited delegates of the Nigerian indigenous nationalities of the Southern and Middle Belt territories of Nigeria, issued the 16th day of December 2020 in Lagos. This proclamation is titled Correcting the Mistake of 1914. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, as the distressed federation of Nigeria wobbles in what seems its terminal throes, as young Nigerians rise up massively in revolt against a system that ruins their present and compromises their future, and as bloody conflicts rage in all parts of Nigeria, in disputation of the terms of the distressed Nigerian Union, and as concerns mount in the international community. First, regarding the shaky future of the troubled Nigerian Federation, and second, the impact of a possible disorderly dissolution of Nigeria over the West African sub-region, the rest of Africa, and indeed the world. We gather here this day as accredited delegates of the constituent component nationalities of Nigeria under the aegis of Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination, being a joint cooperation for the self-determination initiatives of the Southern and Middle Belt of Nigeria on behalf of our various peoples and interests, to pronounce an end to our toleration of Nigeria's unitary constitutional order, unilaterally imposed and forcefully maintained by a section of the Nigerian country in negation of the federal basis upon which Nigeria became one political union at independence in 1960, and in full subjugation of our collective sovereignties, currently being forcefully and fraudulently appropriated by the Nigerian state. We gather here today before the global community to formally proclaim a sovereignty dispute in rejection of the further operation of the imposed unitary constitutional arrangements of Nigeria, and in assertion of our inalienable right to self-determination. The history of the colonial beginnings of Nigeria as a commercial venture of Britain is too well known to admit any further repetitions here, but suffice it to recall, one, that the manipulations that went into the flawed foundations laid by the British in 1914 amalgamation of the protectorate of Southern Nigeria with the protectorate of Northern Nigeria as revealed in recently declassified British colonial records on Nigeria, created a lopsided union, locking the diverse peoples of Nigeria into one political union with two mortally opposed civilizations. Two, that as independence approached 1960, the diversities of various peoples of the Nigerian Union dictated the adoption of the federal constitutional model by the then three largely autonomous regions, namely the eastern, western, and northern regions of Nigeria, as basis of entering into independence as one political union in 1960. Three, that amidst the early strains of post-independence Nigeria, arising mainly from the aforementioned foundational and independent and pre-independence manipulations by the British colonial rulers of the Nigerian Union, the military coups of 1966 truncated the federal constitutional basis of Nigeria and plunged the fledgling union into a catastrophic 30-month war with its breakaway eastern region between 1967 and 1970, triggered by disputations around the terms of the Nigerian Union and leaving in its trail human carnage in excess of 3 million people and a fractured union now resting on an unworkable unitary constitutional order imposed in 1979, first by fiat of the illicit federal government which emerged since 1966, collapse of the Federation of Nigeria, forcefully hijacking and confiscating the sovereignties of the constituent component regions of Nigeria that federated their sovereignties in 1964. That the prevailing 1999 Constitution of Nigeria, which was a wholesale adoption of the 1979 edition via Decree number 24 of 1999, revalidated, reinforced the aforementioned hijack and confiscation of the sovereignties, powers, and assets of the four erstwhile federating regions by the aforementioned illicit federal government of Nigeria, which by decrees fractured the four regions into 36 states and completely emasculated by a 68-item federal exclusive legislative list that comprehensively stripped the federating states of all key assets, economic assets, and governmental powers, thereby creating a totally dysfunctional, corruption-prone, over-centralized system that has failed in every respect, manifesting in gross insecurity, decayed infrastructure, and mass impoverishment, such that Nigeria, with its vast human and material resource endowments, has now emerged as the poverty capital of the world, as well as the global leading example of a failed state. 5, there is a countrywide consensus against the unitary constitutional arrangement imposed incrementally on Nigeria by a combination of guile, brute force, and impunity between 1966 and 1999, now codified by the 1999 Constitution. This countrywide consensus has manifested in several unilateral, regional, and multi-regional actions in repudiation and rejection of the unitary constitution of Nigeria. The first indication that was in the year 2000, the 12 contiguous states of the far north simultaneously imposed and began to implement Sharia in their domains against the express provision of the 1999 Constitution, which in Section 10 forbids the adoption of any state religion. This translates to a unilateral secession from the secular Union of Nigeria. Between 2005 and 2006, a sovereign conference of ethnic nationalities of Nigeria, convened by the Pro-National Conference of Organizations, PNACO, deliberated exhaustively and produced a draft People's Constitution in 2006, which had the potential of restoring Nigeria to its damaged federal foundations. Though ignored by successive governments in Nigeria, that draft became the new federating consensus against the prevailing unitary constitutional order in Nigeria. It will be recalled that prior to the 1999 return to civil rule in Nigeria and before PNACO, there was NADECO, which vigorously challenged both the aberration of military governance in Nigeria and Nigeria's unitarized federalism, both by military decrees. C, as a way of easing out the rejected military constitutional order and paving the way for the emergence of a new federating consensus. The conveners of PRONACO, aggregating under the aegis of the Movement for New Nigeria, MNN, being an alliance of the regional self-determination initiatives of the South and Middle Belt territories of Nigeria, hereinafter called the Alliance, in May of 2007, instituted a lawsuit at the Federal High Court in Abuja, challenging the legitimacy of the 1999 Constitution on the grounds of fraud and forgery, and sought an order of court for the termination of the operation of the 1999 Constitution via an 18-month transitioning arrangement. D, the MNN Alliance, by its MNN Lagos Declaration of June 30, 2011, jointly repudiated the 1999 Constitution as the basis of the Nigerian Federation and mandated the alliance blocks to distill their various regional charters and constitutional drafts in readiness for the inevitable fundamental reconfiguration of the distressed Nigerian Federation to be ratified by referendums and plebiscites. We hereby adopt and incorporate the said MNN Lagos Declaration of June 30, 2011 in support of this proclamation. E, pursuant to the mandates of the MNN Lagos Declaration of June 30, 2011, the regional blocks of the MNN Alliance convened their various regional Solomon assemblies between 2015 and 2018, namely the April 27, 2015 Solomon Assembly of the Peoples of the Lower Niger in Port Harcourt, that is the Southeast and South-South, that Lower Niger Territory. The 7th September 2017 Yoruba Summit in Ibadan, and the July 18, 2018 Emergency Assembly of the Peoples of the Middle Belt in Makurdi. Each of these regional Solomon assemblies formally repudiated and rejected the 1999 Constitution as the basis of federation. We hereby endorse, adopt, and incorporate the resolutions reached by each of those Solomon assemblies. F, having rejected the 1999 Constitution as the basis of the Nigerian Federation, and in the face of ferocious coordinated ethnic cleansing onslaught of the murderous Fulani militia against indigenous peoples of Nigeria, the MNN Alliance mobilized the people of the Alliance territories under the aegis of the Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination to issue the joint multi-regional Freedom Park Proclamation of December 11, 2018, by which the Alliance territories rejected the conduct of further national elections mandated by the repudiated 1999 Constitution and mandated a transition in place of the largely doomed 1999 Constitution, and demanded a transition in place of the largely doomed 2019 national elections as a way of putting a time to the termination of the operation of the 1999 Constitution and the distillation of successor constitutional protocols. The said Freedom Park Proclamation of December 11, 2018 is hereby adopted and incorporated in support of this present proclamation. It is pertinent to note that across all the regions of Nigeria, various social, cultural, and ethnic interests, various organizations have also been vehemently vehement in expressing the constitutional grievances of their own people, some even violently. Thus, on the Yoruba side, we have the Afenifere, the Yoruba Elders Council, Agbekoya, the Yoruba Liberation Command, the YWC, and many more, including the Ilana Omo Odua, which now aggregates several Yoruba self-determination initiatives across the world in the eastern part of southern Nigeria. We have Ohanese, Movement for the Survival of the Ijaw ethnic nationality in the Niger Delta, that's Mosian, Ijaw National Congress, INC, Ijaw Youth Congress, DEF, Midwest Movement, the Delta People Volunteer Force, MEND, MASOB, IPOB, others. in the Middle Belt. We have the Middle Belt Forum, the MBC, the SOCAPO, the Connector, and many others. Several notable statesmen in Nigeria, including General Olusegun Obasanjo and Yakubu Gowon, both former heads of states, have lent their voices to the urgent imperative of the fundamental reform of the damaged constitutional basis of Nigeria, warning that any further delay may lead to the catastrophic collapse of the distressed Nigerian Union. Nigeria's former defense minister, Lieutenant General Theophilus Danjuma, had also urged indigenous peoples of Nigeria facing the ethnic cleansing onslaught of the murderous foreign invaders to defend themselves and their lands in the face of obvious collusion of the federal government of Nigeria and its armed forces with the Fulani invaders. In the aftermath of the October 2020 end-SARS protests, many, including the Nigerian Christian Elders Fund, now insist that Nigeria needs to be renegotiated. Between January and July of 2019, a delegation of the Alliance territories engaged the international community, especially stakeholder institutions in Washington, D.C., to alert the U.S. and the community of the degenerating security situation in Nigeria, where ISWAP, terror machinery of ISIS, made sweeping inroads into Nigeria and the Lake Chad Basin, Nigeria as its hub, with large-scale killings and dislodgement of Christian indigenous populations, mainly in the Middle Belt and the South, encouraged by what seems a manifestly sympathetic of Nigeria and its armed forces in circumstances that present terror-related concerns to the global community, particularly the United States. 3, specific constitutional grievances touching on the sovereignties of the constituent components of the distressed Federation of Nigeria, which are beyond the powers of the legislative mandate of the National Assembly of Nigeria or the federal government of Nigeria to unilaterally address. Let me repeat. Specific constitutional basis touching on the sovereignties of the constituent components of the distressed Federation of Nigeria, which are beyond the powers and legislative mandate of the National Assembly of Nigeria or the federal government of Nigeria to unilaterally address.
Can you see yourself? Okay.
1, the claim in the preamble to the 1999 Constitution that One. We continue with the specific constitutional grievances. 1, the claim in the preamble to the 1999 Constitution that we, the people, firmly and solemnly resolved to live in one political union, and that we enacted and gave ourselves the 1999 Constitution is self-evidently false, as Decree number 24 of 1999, by which the so-called 1999 Constitution was promulgated, outlines step by step the process by which the author of the 1999 Constitution, General Absalom Abaka, and his Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council came about the document it labeled the 1999 Constitution. This is a criminal usurpation of the sovereignties of the constituent components, whose exclusive right it is to make for themselves the constitution by which they will federate and be governed as an incident of their sovereignty, even by the admission of the 1999 Constitution as Section 14.2a, and I quote, "Sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria, from whom government through this Constitution derive all its powers and authority. This is the fountain from which all other constitutional grievances flow, and there is no other remedy to this particular grievance than an autochthonous process by which the constituent components will submit their peoples and their lands into a union, and also stipulate the terms of that union to be ratified by referendums and plebiscites. We refer to Decree number 24 as incorporated into the 1999 Constitution and the preambular text of the 1999 Constitution. It's still there for everybody to see. The claim that we made the Constitution, that's the biggest complaint of the nationalities against that Constitution. Two, the second grievance. A federation is a union of constitutions, and Nigeria became a federation of 3 largely autonomous regions at independence in 1960, when those regions, each armed with its own constitution, agreed to federate into one political union after a series of negotiations at Lancaster House in London between 1957 and 1959. The Midwestern region became the 4th region of Nigeria in 1963 from a constitutional process. The 36 states and 774 local government structure unilaterally imposed by the 1999 Constitution fundamentally distorts the pre-1966 4-region federation, especially the power relations between the federating units and the federal government, which is supposed to be a creation of the federating units, rendering the Nigerian Union a unitary state away from the federal basis upon which the autonomous regions of the diverse peoples of Nigeria agreed to become one political union at independence. These imposed structures also create artificial permanent political majorities and permanent political minorities, irrespective of ground realities in terms of population and other key indices, with grave implications for representation in the places of decision-making as well as resource allocation, amongst other debilitations. There is no other viable remedy for this particular grievance than reverting to the national negotiated basis of federating in terms of formations and preferences ratified by referendums and plebiscites. Refer to the first schedule of part 1 of the 1999 Constitution. The summary of this particular grievance is that the formations in which the peoples agreed to relate have been fractured from 4 regions of 1966 to 36 states, in which the question of representation, resource allocation, and all kinds of things people expect in a federation have been compromised permanently against some in favor of others. The third ground of grievance, we've taken 2. The third ground of grievance is that the 68th item as federal exclusive legislative list is the mechanism by which the illicit federal government of Nigeria hijacked, confiscated, and sequestered the key economic assets, as well as the most important governmental powers and authority of the federating units. Federally confiscated assets include oil and gas assets, the vast maritime assets of the coastal territories, solid mineral, including iron ore, aluminum, coal, limestone, and a wide range of precious metals and stones. The federally confiscated powers include the power to generate and transmit electricity, the power to operate a police service, and other services that might require the use of arms, the power to build, own, or operate seaports, airports, railways, highways, etc. 68 items. Also confiscated are the powers over banking, insurance, copyrights, patents, trademarks, pensions, prisons, posts, company incorporation, marriages, elections into federal and state offices. The list continues. Some of the worst consequences of this federal hijack and confiscation of powers and assets was the seizure of the federal government, by the federal government, of educational institutions, particularly the great universities developed by the then regions, which the federal government thoroughly degraded over the years. The same was the case with the manufacturing concerns established by the regions. The implication of this federal exclusive legislative list is that only the federal government shall have power and control over all the items listed, while the federating units are forbidden from anything coming under that list. To make things worse, even the few undertakings permitted the already emasculated states under the so-called concurrent list 13 number, are expressly subjugated to the overriding powers of the federal government, such that any conflicts between the federal government and the state government in respect of any matter on the concurrent list, the interests of the federal government will prevail. More than any other single cause, the disastrous consequences of this over-centralization of control over a large range of subject matters has been at the heart of Nigeria's arrested development and the total system dysfunction, especially when viewed against the backdrop of the rapid socio-economic development in the pre-1966 region of Nigeria, which owned, controlled, and worked their respective economic assets to the benefit of their own people, exercised most of the powers now sequestered from them by the so-called federal government. The other over-centralization comes with hideous inefficiencies that have been the root cause of the culture of corruption and waste in Nigeria, as humongous assets and funds are held in the hands of the federal establishment that have no real contact with the development needs of the various parts of Nigeria. Thus, we are saddled with a situation in which people who have nothing to do with the pressing needs of the true owners of the assets, and who are now not in any way accountable to those true owners or anybody at all, carry on most wastefully as armed robbers will do with their loot. Whether such public funds are proceeds from the sale of oil and gas, or from customs duties, operations of ports, company taxes, or VAT, those who receive the funds as allocations simply treat the funds as their own share of the loot called Nigeria. In all, the entire system is designed to be resistant to development. The various agitations in Nigeria, from the Niger Delta Resource Control agitation to the Yoruba OPC and Amotekun that seek control over Yoruba internal security, to the Biafra agitation by those in eastern Nigeria who are so completely frustrated by the inequitable and unworkable Nigerian Unitary Union that seek outright exit from the union, are caused by the 68-item federal exclusive legislative list. That Nigeria is without electricity or any meaningful infrastructure is on account of this federal exclusive legislative list. That Nigeria has become the poverty capital of the world is due mainly to the exclusive list. The broken down security situation in Nigeria is also largely due to this same exclusive list. The remedy to this particular constitutional grievance is to dismantle the exclusive list completely, restore the sovereign powers of the constituent components, which may in turn cede to the center only such powers as they freely wish, in unfettered self-determination as dictated by the concept of federalism. We may refer to the second schedule, part 1 of the 1999 Constitution that lists all of those items on the exclusive list. Nigeria is where it is today largely on account of that. Number 4, that's the fourth ground of grievance. Aggravation of existing constitutional grievances and extraordinary urgency for remedial action. As quite apart from the provisions of the Constitution itself, there are aggravating circumstances that have arisen to impose an urgency on the peoples of Nigeria concerning this subject matter. And so, amidst trenchant demands by the peoples of the South and Middle Belt for the fundamental reconfiguration of Nigeria's unitary constitutional order to address the dysfunctional system under which security and infrastructure had completely broken down in Nigeria, the ferocious ethnic cleansing onslaught by the Fulani militia, masquerading as herdsmen, commenced throughout southern Nigeria and Middle Belt upon the emergence of Major General Muhammad Buhari in 2015 as the president of Nigeria, compounding the Boko Haram insurgency and terror campaign that was already ravaging the northeast of Nigeria, especially the Christian communities. Concerning the rapidly worsening situation and the Middle Belt, in the South and the Middle Belt, as well as the glaring complicity of the federal government of Nigeria in circumstances that progressively validate the charge of outright collusion with the murderous Fulani militia. masquerading as herdsmen, it is pertinent to point out the following. A, that as president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, a Fulani himself, and the life grand patron of the Fulani Cattle Breeders Association, MAGBA, had asked the governor of Benue State, Samuel Otom, who had come to seek the federal government's intervention on the invasion of Benue State by Fulani herdsmen, to go home to his people and learn how to live in peace with the moderate Fulani herdsmen, who Buhari described as the Fulani of Benue. B, Nigeria's defense minister under President Buhari had declared that the developments blocking what he described as ancient cow grazing routes must be removed, or the cows and the herdsmen will bulldoze their way through the developments. C, the Inspector General of Police under President Muhammadu Buhari declared that the states which passed and enforced anti-open grazing laws were responsible for the violence being unleashed by the Fulani herdsmen, and that unless these laws were repealed, the situation could only get worse. That's the Inspector General of Police that should have been at the forefront of, defending people from the attack of these herdsmen. D, amidst the agonizing cry of the peoples of the Middle Belt and the South regarding the invasion of their communities by moderate Fulani militia, the spokesman of the president, Buhari, Femi Adesina, advised the distressed and endangered communities that it would be better to give up their lands to the Fulani in order to save their lives. E, under the watch of President Buhari and at the outset of the post-2015 escalation of the Fulani herdsmen killings in southern Kaduna, the governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, had announced that he went to 14 different countries to appease the Fulani who come from those countries to kill in southern Kaduna. These appeasement measures, according to El-Rufai, included the payment of 100 million naira from the public treasury of Kaduna State to the invading Madras Fulani militia. F, under the watch of President Buhari, a strange practice was introduced in which captured fighters of Boko Haram and other terror groups are freed by the federal government of Nigeria, which declares them repentant and actually absorbs them into the Nigerian military to fight side by side with people who were chasing them just the day before. G, the recent unilateral declaration by President Buhari that Africans from all parts of Africa are free to enter Nigeria without visa, and the consequent influx of Fulani into Nigeria, who are being openly aided by the federal government of Nigeria to take over vast lands from the indigenous communities, has exacerbated the undisguised ethnic cleansing by the invading Fulani, whom the governor of Bauchi State recently declared as being all Nigerians. The governor of Bauchi State went on national TV to tell the rest of us that Fulani from all over Africa are Nigerians, and therefore, not only are they to enter, but they can, that they will have the first right of, enjoying whatever is available to Nigerian citizens, wherever they are in Africa. On a scale, this particular point is happening, this particular point of compromising our sovereignty is happening on a scale that totally compromises the sovereignty of Nigeria itself, and therefore that of all constituent components of Nigeria, particularly the South and the Middle Belt. The massive influx of dangerous-looking Fulani migrants into southern Nigeria during the federal government-imposed COVID-19 lockdown is a pointer to the malevolent motives of the Fulani. In the first week of August 2020, the U.S. raised alarm about an impending invasion of Nigeria by both Al-Qaeda and ISIS from Nigeria's northwest. To further compromise our sovereignty, Chinese loans being recklessly contracted by the federal government of Nigeria contain clauses that cede Nigeria's sovereignty to China in the event of a default. Reckoning aggravations A to G above, The peoples of southern middle belt of Nigeria are now in the horrific realization and apprehension that the Fulani-controlled federal government of Nigeria, under the superintendence of the Fulani president, Muhammad Buhari, could actually be behind the well-orchestrated ethnic cleansing campaign being unleashed against the indigenous nationalities of Nigeria by the Fulani invading Nigeria from all sides. In the face of the Sharia embraced by our compatriots in the far north of Nigeria, in a supposedly secular federation, the clear existential threat to the peoples of southern and middle belt Nigeria, represented by the aforementioned jihad-style Fulani militia onslaught, brings a new urgency to the grave constitutional grievance that have been consistently raised by the peoples of the southern and middle belt Nigeria in course of the last 5 decades, bordering on the sovereignties of the constituent components of Nigeria, which has now been completely hijacked, suppressed, and subjugated by the illicit federal government of Nigeria, which has become a suzerain power controlled exclusively by the Fulani. We can see the map that shows what we're talking about. The stretch in yellowish color at the 12 contiguous states of the far north that simultaneously adopted Sharia in year 2000. They are contiguous and they acted simultaneous in year 2000. And then we see the other part, white, the eastern half of southern Nigeria, that's the lower Niger, the western half, and the middle belt, which is the white portion on this map is the alliance territory, rejecting the Sharia and rejecting unitarism and feudalism. We continue. In the face of the Sharia embraced by our compatriots in the far north of Nigeria in a supposedly secular federation, the clear existential threat to the jihad-style Fulani militia onslaught brings a new urgency. Accordingly, being accredited representatives of the indigenous nationalities of Nigeria's southern and middle belt territories, hereinafter called the Alliance Territories, constituting over 75% of the population of Nigeria, on behalf of the peoples of the territory, and in invocation of the universal rights appertaining to our sovereignties as indigenous peoples of the stressed Nigerian territory, including the right to self-determination as enshrined in the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People 2007, as well as the United Nations Charter on Human Rights. Having exhausted every democratic, people-driven process in seeking an orderly redress for the aforementioned grave constitutional grievances emanating from the unilateral imposition of a unitary constitutional order on our supposed federal union by a section of Nigeria that has also imposed Sharia in their own part of our supposed secular union. And now, in circumstances that has become an extraordinary emergency for our people, being confronted by the clear and present danger of extermination in the hands of our supposed compatriots in the Union of Nigeria, who are pursuing an ethnic cleansing campaign against the indigenous nationalities of Nigeria, hereby declare a sovereignty dispute with the Federation of Nigeria as represented by the federal government of Nigeria on account of our repudiation and rejection of the imposed 1999 Constitution of Nigeria, whose authorship was fraudulently imputed to us by the preamble to that Constitution in its first claim that we, the people, made, enacted, and gave to ourselves the said 1999 Constitution, with a further lie in that preamble that we had firmly and solemnly resolved to submit as our peoples and our lands into the Union of Nigeria. Furthermore, in invocation of our long suppressed collective sovereignties, we hereby proclaim a constitutional force majeure effective from the midnight of the 16th day of December in 2020, with a 90-day notice to the government of the Federation of Nigeria, the Security Council of the United Nations, the government of the United States of America, the European Union, as well as the international community, of the intention of the peoples of the alliance territories to reconsider our continued allegiance to the disputed 1999 Constitution as well as the unitary union of death, attrition, and backwardness it forced on us. For the sake of peace and to avoid anarchy, it is our demand that in the 90-day period of this notice, the following specific actions must be undertaken by the federal government of Nigeria to firmly set in motion an irreversible process by which the aforementioned grave constitutional grievances will be addressed. A formal announcement by the federal government of Nigeria acknowledging the constitutional grievances and sovereignty dispute now declared by the peoples of South and Middle Belt of Nigeria. B, a formal commitment by the federal government of Nigeria to the wholesale decommissioning and jettisoning of the 1999 Constitution as the basis of the Federation of Nigeria, as was done by the government of apartheid era South Africa in 1990, to commence the process by which the apartheid constitution of the then South Africa was eased out. C, a formal announcement by the federal government of Nigeria suspending further general elections under the disputed 1999 constitution, since the winners of such elections will swear to and govern by that constitution. D, a formal initiation of a time-bound transitioning process to midwife the emergence of fresh constitutional protocols by a two-stage process in which the constituent regional blocks will, at the first stage, distill and ratify their various constitutions by referendum and plebiscite, and in the second stage, negotiate the terms of federating afresh, as may be dictated by the outcomes of referendum and plebiscites. E, a formal invitation to the peoples of the South and Middle Belt of Nigeria to work out and in place a transitional authority by which shall specify the modalities for the transitioning.
Mark Oliste, please, could you unshare your screen? And host, please, could you make sure that no one else has the access to share screen for the duration, except us here, please. Thank you.
I take the last one again. E, a formal invitation to the peoples of the South and Middle Belt of Nigeria to work out and in place a transitional authority which shall specify the modalities for the transitioning process, including the composition and mandate of the transitional authority, as well as the time frame for the transitioning over and other ancillary matters, just like South Africa did with apartheid in 1990. By this proclamation, let it be known to all, including the international money lenders, that Nigeria is now a disputed project, and that while the constituent components commit to honoring existing international debt obligations, we caution that whatever obligations may arise from any foreign loans contracted by the federal government of Nigeria from the date of this proclamation may come into controversy. Similarly, all loans contracted by the federal government of Nigeria containing any clause that may cede the sovereignty of Nigeria to any or any part thereof in the event of a repayment default shall be disputed as illicit and in breach of the sovereignty of the federating units. We also invite politicians from the alliance territories and other political parties and all political parties operating in the alliance territory to take notice that the 1999 constitution by which the winner of any national elections in Nigeria will swear and govern is the very object of the sovereignty dispute we have just proclaimed, with a demand that further national elections premised upon the repudiated constitution be deferred forthwith for the purpose of first reworking the damaged constitutional basis of Nigeria. It is therefore our expectation that you will stand with your people, that's the politicians and the political parties, will stand with the people you claim or seek to serve as politicians or political parties in their current resolve to wind up the operation of the 1999 Constitution and extinguish the source of their misery. If instead of standing with your people, you choose to go to another round of general elections in 2023 under that 1999 constitution, it will simply mean that you are a part of the enemy-imposed mechanism for inflicting death, misery, impoverishment upon your own people for no other reason than personal gain. The signatories to this proclamation commit themselves to providing a detailed proposition for undertaking the fundamental reconfiguration of the damaged constitutional basis of Nigeria. In this regard, the signatories adopt and incorporate the MNN Alliance's November 16, 2018 open memorandum to President Muhammadu Buhari on the restructuring debate, reported in Guardian newspaper of November 18, 2018, as an outline of our prescriptions, issued this day, this 16th day of December, year 2020. I thank you for your audience.
Okay, this demands an incredible round of applause. Everybody, just wherever you are, even though your mic is muted, this is historic. This is what we have been waiting for. This is historic. It's not going to be the same again from today. It's not going to be the same again from today. So, in the Alliance territory, have done today, what all of us have done is basically look a 100-year-old monster, a 100-year-old monster in the face and say, go to hell, go to hell. Yes, we've looked here in the face and say, no more. We fear no more. It shall never be the same again from here. All right, so what we're going to take right now, we're going to take comments and then questions from the media. Questions from the media first, and then there's Heritage TV and a couple of other media people and international media in the house. So we are going to take questions. We also have Professor Akintoye in the house. Thank you very much, sir, and a couple of other lead signatories, who are here. So for the journalists in the room who have questions, what you could do is you raise your hand and or you type it in the chat. But if you raise your hand, the host can unmute you and then you speak. Otherwise, just go ahead and type your questions in the chat and then we will have your questions taken. Yes, so one already says, can we please share a soft copy of the declaration so that we can circulate it to Nigerians all over the world? Yes, with this proclamation, the soft copy is being released right now to all the media houses in Nigeria, internationally, and social media, and everyone on this call. We're also going to upload it before this call goes, and you can download it right there from Zoom. Yes. Okay, so questions? Yes, we have been waiting for this day all our lives. Yes, I see that coming from Justice for All. Yes, Tunde Obo. This is the people taking over their land. And then in the chat I hear, I am dancing. Yes, this is a day to dance. Okay, so we're still waiting for questions or comments from the media first. So we're looking at the chat, so questions from the media first, and then we take from the rest of the house. Comments? Okay, and while we are waiting for the media and their questions, we would also like to invite Professor Akintoye in the house to please unmute yourself and address the people. We thank you very much, Prof, for all the efforts that you made to make sure that everything goes well. But so here is technology. In spite of all your best effort, it didn't happen, but we're so honored that you are here in the room. So Professor Akintoye, please unmute your mic and then address the House. Thank you very much. Okay, and then the host can share Professor Akintoye's screen. Prof, you're still muted.
Professor Akintoye. Yeah.
Prof is there. Prof, you're muted.
No,
Prof,
I
can
see
you hear
him on
us?
the list, but I'm trying to find him. There's a lot of people in the meeting. Meeting. Some. Oh yes, there he is.
Okay.
Professor Akintoye. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, Professor Baji Akintoye.
Okay, there is nothing more to add at this point than to say that this is the turning of the tide of history for the peoples of the South and the Middle Belt. We have endured suppression in the country that we belong to, and we have done everything possible, everything sensible, everything peaceful to address it, but we have been turned down and treated as if our voices don't matter. Now we are telling the world that our voices matter, and from this point there is no turning back. I congratulate the people of the peoples of the South and the Middle Belt for this historic day. And I say that we will go on and achieve the liberation of our people from suppression and subjugation in Nigeria. Thank you very much. It is a great day, a welcome change in the life of our people. And we thank you all for listening to us. Here we go. This is the turning of the tide of history for the peoples of the South and the Middle Belt. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, awesome. Tony. Thank you, everybody, all of you young men who have done this. You know that I am with you every inch of the way, every second of the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you. Okay, we do have other signatories, lead signatories in the House. Yes, so please, the other signatories in the House, you are welcome to please identify yourself and say a word. We're also trying to identify some of you here. So many of you are here. Is TK in the House of Goriba? Okay. All right. So we have George. George is a signatory and he's in the House. Okay. George, let's have a word from you. Okay. And then I would also invite, I can see that leaders from the Middle Belt. This comment is from Wing Commander Dr. Hussein Omotosho. Yeah. All right. So we would also like to invite any of the signatories from the Middle Belt, from Ijaw Nation, from, yes, Jonah Jang, and all of you present here, please, would also invite you for your remarks. Okay, George, let's have your remarks.
Thank you so much, Ogo. This is really a great day for everyone. This is the culmination of all the hard work that everybody has put in for the past 2-3 years. And it's great to be here to witness this. I'm very, very optimistic. I'm very, very happy. I had always known from the beginning that victory is ours. And we have shown resilience, we have shown patience, we have shown understanding, but the people we are dealing with are actually totally deaf and dumb. So since they are deaf and dumb, this drastic action that is legal, that is totally according to the dictates of the United Nations, is extremely welcome. Now we are in the driving seat. I congratulate everyone. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, George. Okay. Uncle Fred Agbegbe. Is Uncle Fred in the House? The chairman of the Movement for New Nigeria Alliance. Can we have your remarks? Okay, Middle Belt, the Middle Belt signatories from Middle Belt. Any of you here, please just type in the chat and let's have your remarks. Okay. Is Commodore Ikiwe, a bit Ikiwe still in the house? Commodore Jonah Jang. Professor Turaki, I saw you.
No, please, I can't hear a word again.
A little while ago. Can you still hear me? Or is it just Hajjanik that can't hear me?
I'm hearing you.
Okay. Maybe it's your internet. All right, let's see. Okay, we have actually Wing Commander Jose Omotosho joining us all the way from Australia. Okay, please just unmute yourself and just give us your remark. Yeah, give us your remark. Excellent.
It's great to witness what is happening. The remark I want to give, permit me to give it, because I'm not only a retired wing commander, I've traveled all the place. I've been task force on many task forces in Benin, in Port Harcourt, in Makurdi. But the one thing is also that I'm a pastor in the Redeemed Christian Church of God. And for 20 years, God has shown me about this thing that is about to happen. And Nigeria is a train moving. Nobody can stop it. The new Nigeria is what we in the South belong to. And people have been shouting about it. I've foreseen it over 20 years ago when I was still in the service. So I'm very confident. Let body have no fear at all whatsoever. We are in it together. Initially, it was like pockets. But what God showed me is that there is teamwork from the south across the Niger. No one can do it alone. And I'm asking, that's why my question about the Middle Belt. We need to really, really work in the Middle Belt zone because the Fulanis are bent on taking the Middle Belt with them.
Okay. Thank you very much, Wing Commander Jose, and thank you for that comment about the Middle Belt. When I invite Tony at the back, he will give us a little bit of the update because very exciting things are happening in the Middle Belt. As a matter of fact, they are fully 100% into what we're doing here today. Thank you very much for that. I would also like to invite Hajjanike Abdurrahim. You're the Yeye Oge of Northern Yeye. Okay, sorry, Yeye Oge. Pardon me, don't worry. When we fix Nigeria, we'll get to. When we fix Nigeria, we fix language, we fix all these things that they have messed up our brain.
Good afternoon,
okay, please, yes,
everyone.
Yes, give us your remarks. Thank you.
I really appreciate what is going on. I'm so excited to be here, and I commend the organizer of this move. May God make it easy for us. As the Yeye Oge of Northern Nigeria, I represent my people. I am the voice of the women, and we are so concerned about the recent happening in the country. Nowhere is safe. And I believe the only thing to do is to do it ourselves with our own people in our own way and get it better again. We know what is happening. There's no need. There's this Chinese saying that says, if you want to defeat others, you must first defeat yourself. And in defeating ourselves, we have to work on our fear, lack of confidence that if we come out out to say what we want, are they going to put us behind bars? If they don't put Nelson Mandela behind bars, a lot of good things won't happen in his country. So we should defeat that and then move ahead according to plan and work together as a team to achieve this feat. And I believe we are going to, do great. We are going to achieve it by the grace of God. Our parents prayed for it. We prayed for it because we know what is happening with our own children. Nothing is working in this country called Nigeria anymore. So whatever is going to take, if it has to be to segregate, then let's do it without fear. Please, count me in on this. Thank you so much.
Awesome. So thank you very much indeed. As the former president of the United States said in moments like this, he said that there's nothing to fear but fear itself. And what we've just done today is defeat fear, because there was nothing before us other than fear. So thank you for that very excellent comment. And if he says today is the turning point, power must go back to the people. Ray Chukwemeka says, throughout the night, I saw myself participating in this historic event. I am most grateful to God for allowing me to see this day. All right, do we still have any other late signatory in the house? Would like you to, yes, I think I just saw Reverend Palm. Yes, Reverend James Palm, please, your remarks. Please unmute yourself. Johnny, please unmute Reverend Palm, and let's have your remarks, sir. Awesome. Oh, we can hear him. We can hear him. He's speaking, but we can't hear him. Please unmute him and then let him unmute himself. Okay, Reverend Palm, can you go ahead? Okay, we're still having some audio challenge with Reverend Palm, who also happens to be one of the lead signatories from the Middle Belt. Okay, all right. Oh, you can hear, I see a thumbs up. Mike is here. Okay. Can you all hear Reverend Palm? Reverend Palm is speaking, but we can't hear him from here. Or is it just us? Okay. All right. We also have Mike. Mike, can you?
No, we can hear him too.
Okay. Mike, can you unmute yourself and give your remarks? I think we also have Mike, who happens to be a signatory as well. Okay, you can hear him as well. Okay. All right. So Tony, why don't you go ahead and take a couple of questions or comments that have already arisen from the media in the chat. One of them was, before we take this one, somebody the wing commander made a comment about the Middle Belt. Can you give us some update, not just the Middle Belt, but the other parts of the alliance, how everybody, and I know in the past couple of days, you've been traveling all over the whole place and engaging. Give our people a sense of the level of deep engagement that, because it's easy to think that it's just people on this call, you know, and maybe a few other people. Just give us some idea about the deep engagement with the people, the owners of the land, that has happened in the past couple of days.
Right. What we see today is a culmination of a 21-year journey that began right in 1999. So let's mute ourselves and hear ourselves.
Dikirulahi, please mute yourself. We can hear you. Dikirulahi, please mute yourself. Thank you.
So as it were, the event we see today is a culmination of a 21-year process that began right from the point the 1999 Constitution was introduced. The collapse of the 1960 consensus, 1966. And it came in 5 phases that is now at the terminal phase. This is the concluding part of the terminal phase. In the first phase, we had to get the nationalities of Nigeria to sit down and examine their situation and options are available. That was how Pronaco came. We went around the whole country. Nadeco, yes, was successful in getting the soldiers out of government house, but the constitution by which we had to go to that democracy was not settled, and so the soldiers succeeded in enforcing on us fraudulently the constitution they made in 1979 through all kinds of underhand processes from 1975, and so it was a matter of engaging the problem for what it was. And so we said all the structures created by Nigeria since 1966 by decree will not be the basis of any discussion. It's the nationalities that will have to, the Yorubas, Yoruba, the Ijaws, Ijaw, the Ogonians, Ogoni. And that was how the conference of 2005, the PRONACO that happened between 2005 and 2006 came into being. We will recall that at the time we were going around the country to, invite people into these nationalities. It took 3-4 years of intensive, engagement with the nationalities. In 2004, it came to where we announced that we were going to have a meeting of the sovereign components of Nigeria to examine the options open, because the country was going down. And so Obasanjo was president at the time. What did he do? He went on national broadcast to say that we were committing treason if we called a meeting of the owners of Nigeria. Well, that challenge simply drew out more people in support of what we're doing, and it came to where he had to change his own, in an attempt to get ahead of the initiative. That was how Obasanjo set up the McCarthy Committee in December of 2004 to work out what became the 2005 National Conference. Well, our quarrel with all of what they were doing at the time, for which reason we wanted to do it by ourselves, is that the task of deciding, the right and prerogative of deciding the union agreement, which the constitution is exclusive to the constituents. The sovereign constituents of Nigeria are the only ones who can determine whether they want to be in a union, and if so, on what terms. Those are two separate questions, and that's why you see the constitution starting with the preamble, we the people have solemnly resolved to live together. That's one subject matter. And then the other one is making and giving unto ourselves a constitution. That's another subject matter, like the memo and articles of a company. Now, yes, we discussed all the way to 1960, from the time the British were planning to leave. But that agreement, union agreement that was reached in Lancaster House, that Nigeria shall be a federation of autonomous regions that will have control and ownership over their assets, contributing for the upkeep of the center, and generally, a secular union. These were fundamentals. And to tell us how far we have departed from those fundamentals, from the time we abandoned what we agreed in 1966, it will be recalled that these killings happen in the Middle Belt today over, from elements that seem bent on a jihad. The Willings Commission, as at the time independence was being negotiated, quite apart from the question of being a federal union and being a secular union, the Ahmadu Bello, who was a leader of the northern region of the time, wanted Sharia, for northern regions, and so it was a matter of fundamental compromise for the Sharia to be removed, because the Middle Belt, Joseph Tucker and others who didn't feel that the people of the Middle Belt could become part of that north that would be governed by Sharia. So the Willings Commission did draw up a compromise in which Sharia was removed and a penal code in place as the basis of Middle Belt that could have been a region of its own at the time, becoming a part of Nigeria. And so when in year 2000, that fundamental compromise was toppled and Sharia imposed, it simply amounted to a secession from the secular union. And these are all the kind of things that changed, for which reason it was the contention of the nationalities that it was their exclusive business, like the owners of a company have the exclusive right to make their memo and article. It's not the hired management of a company that makes a memo and article. That is what it sounds like when National Assembly begins to say that they want, or the government begins to say that they want to. So we went on from PRONACO, we agreed on what we could do, we had a draft. We went on in 2007 to go to court to say, look, we didn't make this constitution. Afford the government an opportunity to lead the process so that we can do it like South Africa did. They wouldn't listen. Things got worse. So by 2011, that MNN Lagos Declaration that by which these nationalities now came to say this constitution cannot be based. So we're not at this. So we put in place a process by which the regional blocks will have to make out their own charters and constitutions ahead of when we go back to that discussion. And we've come every step of the way to where they subjected their decisions to some kind of ratification by solemn assemblies. It was when they had finished all those solemn assemblies that they came back in Lagos in 2018, December 11, to declare the Freedom Park Proclamation that now is being implemented from today. They decided that they will not go to any further elections under the constitution that made them slaves in their land. Okay. That's why we're gathered here today. So it's not a casual thing, and everybody in all the territories involved, had the opportunity. As recent as 1 week ago, we just came back from the Middle Belt where we were concluding our discussions with people that we've done so in the East, we've done so in various parts of the West, overseas. People in the diaspora, we sat down with them in town halls across the various countries. So that's how we got to where we are now. It's not a casual thing that just began yesterday.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And please, somebody is inadvertently sharing their screen.
Okay. What's the problem? More online.
Mute your microphone.
You are not admitted to speak.
Please mute your microphone until you are admitted to speak. And host, please, I don't know who is sharing a white screen. Could you please keep people from sharing? Someone is sharing a white screen. I think it's James Palm. James Palm, please unshare. Okay, thank you very much, please. Okay. That was a bit distracting, so I wasn't sure. Okay, so thank you very much, Tony. The summary is there's a lot of engagement. This is not a casual thing, like Tony just said. There's a lot of engagement, with the people, and this is a movement whose time has come. So we want to take a few questions. One is, and I think one pertinent question here for everybody is, people want to know, what is the next line of action after this declaration? What is expected of us as citizens? What next? Just very briefly, give us succinctly. And before Tony answers, I think that Johnny just confirmed, if people put in their mails, because I would like everybody on the call right now to get the text immediately. So if people put in their emails in the chat, Johnny, can you save them? Can you extract the emails? And so we can send out immediately. I think I can send out the text.
I can.
All right, so, okay, we'll save the chat and then extract the email. So everybody put your email address, and then immediately after this event, you are going to get the text as it is, and you can begin to share. Ademola Akintoye says, Engineer Akintoye says, we, the indigenous nations within the fraudulent determined confines known as Nigeria in the South and Middle Belt, must all now fully cooperate in all possible facets of human life, security, economic policy, etc., to establish our sovereign will. All right, very good. Excellent message. And that is why we are here today. So briefly, what next?
Right. Before I go to that, before I go to the what next, Professor Akintoye and the rest of the leadership of the alliance.
Ibrahim, what about send message?
Mr. Ibrahim, can you mute?
I just muted him. Host has just muted him.
Man.
Please let it be noted that this proclamation will be on all platforms, on Facebook, everywhere people can Google, everywhere people can find information. It will be all over the place. There are millions of people already taking it on to spread. Our task is to take on it and spread it further. The leadership of the Alliance mandates me to announce to us that this proclamation of today, this sovereignty dispute proclamation of today, will be presented to the President of Nigeria, will be presented to the UN, will be presented to the US and European Union, and all of those who might be asking what's going on in Nigeria. And the various regional blocks in Nigeria, they have their all kinds of leadership. Everybody will have to, those who want, who are fed up with Nigeria, those who are fed up with Nigeria, who now want to become countries of their own, this charter will be presented to them to examine whether the answer to their problem is there. Those who want Biafra, those who want Odua Republic, those who want those who want to cause control, those who say there should be good governance. The young people who went out to the streets the other time, this document is now in your hand. Everything you complained about, SARS and the police that shoot, the army that chase you around and leave the criminals and murderers from afar, all of the electricity you don't have, all of the quota system that put mediocrity ahead of excellence in your country, all of the infrastructure that will never be there because of exclusive lists, everything that has turned your life to what it is now, in which you are running to various parts of the world to become slave again all over. This document is in your hand. The solution to that situation is in this document. If we put our hands on it and insist on taking back our sovereignty that have been hijacked by Nigeria for 60 years and more, we'll get to that destination we seek. We only need to stop those who renew the life of the Constitution. The winner of any election, for those who may be saying, oh, let us go election and get it there, all right. The winner of any election will have to govern by the 1999 Constitution, which creates all these situations, like apartheid constitution is worse than apartheid. Now, the only way that constitution has survived for 21 years is that the life is renewed every 4 years by elections. Luckily for us, only political parties contest elections. And what happens is that because of what they get from going to contest the election, the senators, the governors, we know what they take home. The governors take billions every month. The senators take 50, 60 million, House members, everybody, managing Nigeria under this constitution that breeds corruption and protects the beneficiaries of corruption comprehensively beyond our reach. The only reason they want the constitution to remain the way it is, even in the midst of all our consensus, is because of that personal gain. And so it is within our reach, the rest of us, to insist that the political parties must close shop at this time. That's the only task left. Let us take the document, digest it, take it to our communities, take it to everywhere. Those from Nigeria who are stranded in all parts of the world, we travel quite around the globe, and we see our people slaving away the second time, being killed like people without homelands, just because their country is not working, for a country that sells 3 million barrels of crude oil. So we are saying that it is within our reach. What we have to do is to digest this information and spread it amongst our people. The action we need to take is to insist that the political parties must shut down any further preparations towards any elections, must close shop, so that we can go and rework the constitution by which the winner of any elections will have to go. If we do this, it won't take us 3 months to get to the end of all these problems. If we fail to do it, they will drag us to another election, have another 4 years, and we'll have ourselves to blame if they get another 4 years.
God forbid, because what I started, we're going to complete. Okay. Right. So there's just one comment. Just one very brief comment, Tony. I still want you to address it because it's coming up again. And then please just very, very briefly so that we can round it off and then send it and people can start running with it.
Right.
Now, the question is, what is the next line? What can we do? Then somebody actually expanded on it. He said, suppose the Buhari or this government comes up with resistance and then they are whatever. What's that? They don't want this to end, just us talking about it. So what is the next?
The right to self-determination is inalienable, according to the UN instrument on the subject. The remedy available to Nigerians today in all of what they are suffering is in self-determination. The constitution we have on the table today was imposed in negation of our self-determination. And what we need to do right now is to insist that this constitution cannot be basis of the union going further, and therefore anybody discussing election in your neighborhood is telling you, I want you to remain the slave you are. I want you to be available to be killed. I want you to operate without electricity. I want mediocrity to continue to rule over your excellence. And so it is within our reach to just face those political parties and tell them, this far, no more. To close shop. We don't need to go to any far place in all the street corners where they operate. The only reason they are there is that they are planning to take their turn in this robbery enterprise that Nigeria has become under this constitution. Nigeria has become a criminal enterprise.
All right, so I want to thank you very much, Tony.
One last item. All of those who may wish to be a part of this, from this evening, there will be opened an online petition in which everybody can become signatory to this document by just clicking in their names on that online petition. And there's a website already deployed to receive everybody who may want to know what's going on and want to participate. That website is called freedomfromnigeria.com. www.freedomfromnigeria.com. So the actions will include signing up to that petition, because we already have about 20 million people whose signatures have been processed for the UN, so that the whole world can see that we are together in making this demand. Let it also be noted that we are not anarchists. Our quarrel is not with the government. We are not asking them to leave government house. The 5 points of demand center around a plan for transitioning, and orderly transitioning away from the constitution of death towards the constitution of life, as we may determine in our sovereignty, in our right to self-determination. And therefore, just like South Africa did, before somebody comes saying that we want to come and take over, we are not interested. No, anybody who is interested in going to government house under this constitution is a criminal that is some people should try to stop from going to sell him to the enemy that wants to keep everybody in bondage. And so it is a matter of asking that we go the option Frederick de Klerk adopted for apartheid South Africa in 1990, to agree that we have not made a constitution, to agree that the one that is imposed is not working. Luckily, the National Assembly a few weeks ago owned up to the reality that the question of constitution making is beyond their powers. If the Vice President of Nigeria in late September raised an alarm that the walls of Nigeria are cracked, we went on 2 days after to tell the country that those cracks are coming from the damaged constitutional basis. We are all trapped in that house. If we do not take this action when we can, that house will deteriorate progressively to when it falls on our head. And remember that the UN rapporteur that came in 2019, September, did turn in a report that the constitutional arrangement is like pressure cooker for injustice, and that it has become a danger to the global community. 200 million people that will be seeking refuge if Nigeria, erupts. We are in a position to stop that. It is within our reach to solve this problem, and we can put our hands to it and deliver an outcome in a matter of months.
Okay. All right. So I really want to thank every one of you, all the lead signatories to this proclamation today, and everyone who's been here. Again, if you haven't put your email on the chat, please do that, so that immediately after this, I'll show you that within 10 minutes after we end this proclamation, you are going to get the PDF copy of the proclamation. And I want to thank all of you who have come for this historic event and then who have stayed on, and to let you know that the engagement continues. The Alliance, there are different groups, and Tony is quite accessible. I've also seen Daughters of the Truth here, and a couple of other people. I've seen Heritage Television there. They have a YouTube channel that's got a lot, hours and hours of dozens of hours of materials that Tony has put up there with Heritage Television. So you can also check them on YouTube and check their website. And then there's also the Lower Niger Congress Media YouTube channel. There is also the Facebook, where you can hear a lot more. Okay, so let the conversation continue.
Hello.
Ilanomo Odua.
Hello.
Website. So let's continue all this engagement, and please always come back, to us and come back to Tony.
Go to the website.
And to the website.
It's an interactive one. People will
yes, exactly. To keep engaged. And so I want to thank all of you for being here, and the conversation continues after this. Thank you very much indeed. God bless you. And thank God for this historic event that has happened today. And God bless you. You hear from us as soon as it's important to hear from us again. Okay, bye for now.
Ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem of the newly formed Ududuwa Nation.
This is from Heritage TV.